Initial encounter. Commander Vrellick stood at the bridge of the XSS Torval, watching the small vessel drift into their sector on the edge of contested space. The ship was angular, metallic gray, and no larger than a transport hauler. Its signal signature marked it as unfamiliar, non-Zarn, non-Krell, non-sentient AI drone. Something new. Classification? Vrellick asked, arms folded behind his back, his tendrils twitching in anticipation. His second, Subcommander Treval, tapped the hollow console. Preliminary scans suggest light weaponry, low energy output, small crew, likely a reconnaissance craft, minimal threat. Vrellick's eyes gleamed. A scout. Yes, Commander. The rest of the bridge crew shifted with subtle excitement. The Zarn Dominion hadn't encountered a new species in over a century. First contact often ended in swift subjugation. Lesser races rarely survive their initial brush with Zarn firepower. Perfect, Vrellick muttered. Prepare weapons. Disable, do not destroy. I want that vessel intact for study. Treval hesitated. Commander, protocol. We're alone in this sector. And besides, it's one scout ship. We'll make an example of them. The Torval and two accompanying destroyers angled toward the human vessel. No shields, no evasive maneuvers, just drifting. Vrellick narrowed his eyes. Why aren't they fleeing? Treval frowned. Unknown. Heat levels rising on their hull, powering up but not weapons. Something else. Keep scanning. Engage in 20 seconds. As the countdown ticked, the Torval locked on its primary beam cannon. Across the void, the human ship began emitting bursts of data, encrypted, rapidly shifting frequencies. Their own systems started flickering. What is this? Vrellick growled. Electromagnetic interference. It's disrupting our targeting. Before the sentence finished, a bright flash erupted from the human ship. Not a weapon, something subtler. A pulse that blanketed the area. The Torval sensors went dead for 3.2 seconds. When they came back online, one of the destroyers was gone. Destroyed. Vrellick barked. No, just gone. No explosion. No wreckage. It vanished. As if on cue, the second destroyer opened fire erratically, its thrusters flaring out of control. They've hijacked our systems, Treval realized, horror creeping into his voice. Vrellick watched as the human vessel, just one ship, maneuvered in perfect silence, using nearby asteroids for cover, then zipped across their blind spot and fired 3 pinprick bursts. Not torpedoes, not lasers, something surgical. Alarm screamed. We're venting atmosphere on Deck 3. Intrusion detected. AI viruses in our comms net. They're hailing us, Treval said, disbelief thick in his throat. On screen, a humanoid face appeared, helmeted, eyes hidden behind a dark visor. The voice was flat, modulated. No anger, no pride. This was a combat trial. Data collected. Recommend disengagement. And then the screen cut. The human ship vanished in a gravity distortion pulse. An FDL jump far too precise for its size. Silence blanketed the bridge. Vrellick slowly turned. Damage report. Treval's voice shook. 1 destroyer missing. The other disabled. We lost 27 crew to decompression. Internal systems compromised. Minimal external damage, but surgical. Intentional. And all from one scout vessel? Treval didn't answer. He didn't need to. Vrellick stepped toward the central display and brought up the initial telemetry. The human ship hadn't fired conventional weapons. It had used the Zarn's own systems against them. Misdirection, precision, psychological control. Not brute force, strategy. He clenched his jaw. They tested us. They didn't try to win. They tried to learn. Treval murmured, if that was just a scout, what do their warships look like? Vrellick didn't reply. Commander Vrellick stood rigid in the center of the tactical chamber aboard the Krexel Spire, the Zarn forward command station on the edge of contested space. Around him, holographic projections replayed the encounter from every conceivable angle. Plasma discharges slicing through the void, Zarn corvettes spiraling into flame. And, most galling of all, the human scout vessel weaving through the carnage with terrifying grace. The Council of Strategists observed in silence, their sleek black uniforms unadorned except for rank lifts that glowed dimly in the cold light. Vrellick resisted the urge to snarl. These were not warriors. They were analysts, politicians in armor. They hadn't seen how fast the enemy moved, how decisively they struck. He had lost 3 ships. To a scout. "You engaged without authorization," said strategist Malvik, her tone flat. "Explain." Vrellick inclined his head. "The vessel was classified by our AI systems as Class 2, reconnaissance craft. Minimal threat. We initiated a controlled engagement to assess its capabilities." Malvik's crest pulsed with irritation. "Your controlled engagement cost us 128 personnel and 3 warships." Vrellick snapped his mandibles shut. He would not be baited. "Respectfully, strategist, the classification was inaccurate. This was no ordinary scout vessel." Another strategist, Viker, the younger one with a keen analytical reputation, gestured. "Playback segment 48. Begin slow-motion analysis." The holograms were formed. The human vessel, small and dark, barely visible on scanners, pulsed once with light, then darted between 2 destroyers. Microsecond bursts of electromagnetic interference rippled across the Zarn vessels, scrambling shields. A moment later, kinetic rounds tore through critical systems like scalpels. "No energy weapons," Viker said. "No plasma cannons. Just pure kinetic strikes, each one guided with surgical precision. Our systems never locked onto them fully." "Autonomous targeting?" Malvik asked. Viker nodded. "Possibly even precognitive modeling." Their ship adjusted course mid-engagement in ways that suggest they had already predicted our maneuvers. Vrellick stepped forward. It wasn't just the ship. The crew boarded Drexel's Fong mid-battle. 5 of them. Biomechanical enhancements, silent as void, lethal in close quarters. They moved like predators. "I've never seen anything like it." 5. Malvik's voice faltered for the first time. "Only 5. Vrellick offered a grim nod. "Security footage confirms it. They disabled internal gravity, flooded the ship with nanoclouds, and used our own systems against us. The boarding lasted 6 minutes. The Fong was dead before I could initiate support protocols." The chamber fell into a stunned silence. Then a new hologram bloomed into view, one not from Zarn sensors, but from a captured drone recovered after the battle. Its metal shell was black, angular, and covered in encrypted glyphs. A voice crackled from its speakers, human, smooth, emotionless, to the command authority of the Zarn Dominion. This engagement was a forward observation test, a scout unit. If resistance continues, primary force deployment will commence. Cease hostilities. The message repeated. The chamber remained still. Viker broke the silence. That was a message drone, dropped deliberately. No encryption. They wanted us to hear it. Malvik sat back, folding her claws together. Scout unit. This was just reconnaissance. They didn't come to win, Vrellick said slowly, feeling the chills seep into his core. They came to learn, to watch how we fight, what we fear, and we taught them, Malvik murmured, that we are predictable. Viker ran a simulation in silence, extrapolating combat effectiveness, predictive modeling, potential fleet composition if this was merely a scout echelon. The results appeared in stark red. Losses. Overwhelming. They're not just strong, Viker said. They're efficient. Every move serves a purpose. Every strike demoralizes. They fought like they'd done this 1,000 times. Malvik closed her eyes. Humanity was classified as pre-expansion, isolated in soul for centuries. How did they develop this? Vrellick answered without hesitation. They evolved in the crucible of desperation, surrounded by threats, divided among themselves, driven to master war not by choice, but by necessity. For the first time in generations, the Zarn felt fear ripple through their ranks, not because they had encountered a stronger foe, but because they had awakened something they did not understand, and had only sent scouts. The silence inside the Zarn High Council's orbital command core was broken only by the rhythmic tapping of talons on control interfaces. Massive star charts spun slowly in holographic display, bathing the chamber in dim blue light. Commander Vrellick stood among the galaxy's most powerful military minds, but none spoke. All eyes were locked on the expanding ripples of real-time warp signatures blooming across the outer fringes of Zarn territory. 17 FTL breaches detected across Sector X9 alone, said the tactical overseer, his voice low, strained. No corresponding warp signatures known to our databases. All of human origin. Estimated time to full incursion, 19 cycles. Where are the scout units? Strategist Malvik demanded. Gone. No signal. We presume destroyed or captured in initial contact. No one needed to say what they were all thinking. This was it. Humanity's answer to the Zarn Empire's mistake. Vrellick leaned in. How large is their fleet? The overseer swallowed. That's just it, Commander. It's not a fleet. It's vanguards. Spearhead detachments. Small, fast, heavily armed. They're targeting specific installations. Fuel depots, communication hubs, sensor nets. Viker, standing nearby, stared at the predictive models on the holoscreen. They're slicing through our periphery like a surgeon. This isn't expansion. It's precision extermination. A new display flickered into view. Footage from a Zarn outpost designated GAR 12. The video shook, crackling with interference. Through the static, humanoid forms moved with fluidity and silence. Black-clad soldiers in adaptive armor that shifted colors like ink in water. Drones flitted above them like birds of prey. One soldier raised an arm, pointed toward the camera, and the feed went black. That outpost was annihilated in under 3 minutes, said Viker. No distress beacon was launched. They hijacked the relay mid-engagement. We only found out because of a redundant data burst that made it through before encryption collapsed. Malvik exhaled slowly. This is doctrine. This is learned behavior. They've done this before. Not to us, Vrellick said. To themselves. All eyes turned. Humanity spent centuries fighting itself. One world. Hundreds of nations. Thousands of wars. Nuclear winters. Orbital strikes. Bioweapon plagues. They refined war like an art. Then they turned it into science. He gestured toward the grainy footage. You're not looking at chaos. You're looking at discipline honed across centuries of bloodshed. Their scout units weren't probing our strength. They were mapping our flaws. Viker nodded. I cross-referenced their assault patterns with known Zarn command protocols. They're bypassing our strongest points, isolating our most vulnerable leaders, and then striking surgically. Every move they make sows panic before it even lands. The holomap zoomed outward to show the larger galactic region. Tiny red marks appeared, human vanguard forces, surrounding critical Zarn sectors in a tightening circle. They're not just here to fight, Malvik said quietly. They're here to break us. A new signal blinked onto the display. Human transmission, open channel. Play it, Vrellick ordered. A woman's voice came through, calm, accented, emotionless. To the Zarn Dominion. This sector has been assessed. Further resistance will result in systematic dismantlement of strategic assets. Your species is advised to surrender governance of expansion zones pending evaluation. Do not confuse restraint with mercy. The message ended. The room was cold. Malvik slowly turned to Vrellick. We need to assemble the Prime Fleet. Vrellick shook his head. We need to rethink everything. This isn't a battle we win through force. They're already 5 moves ahead. If we engage with conventional tactics, we'll be destroyed before we understand what's happening. Viker added, even their AI warfare is beyond us. They're using predictive behavior engines that learn during combat. Every failed attack we launch feeds them data. And we gave them plenty during that first skirmish, Vrellick said bitterly. Malvik finally sat, her claws tapping a grim beat. The Dominion has never encountered a threat we couldn't crush. But this is not conquest. This is punishment. Silence fell once more. Far out in the void, human vanguard units continued their advance, silent, deliberate, unstoppable. No declarations of war. No grand battle lines. Only shadows and fire. And the terrifying knowledge, now settling deep into the Zarn consciousness, that all of this, the disruption, the destruction, the psychological pressure, had been carried out by mere advance elements. They hadn't even seen the main force yet. The Zarn homeworld of Virex Prime hung in space like a wounded leviathan, once proud and radiant, now scarred by smoke trails and flickering orbital debris. From the capital spire, High Strategist Malvik stared out over the planet's upper atmosphere, watching as the faint glimmers of distant battle lit the sky. Commander Vrelix stood beside her, armor scorched, eyes hollow. Around them, a fractured war council debated desperately over encrypted channels, their voices rising and fracturing with panic and pride. None of it mattered anymore. The humans were here. Final reports confirm loss of 17 sectors in under 30 cycles, said Viker, grim and bloodied, limping into the command chamber. Command nodes taken out with suborbital kinetic strikes. No warning. No transmissions. They coordinated across light years in perfect unison. Malvik didn't look at him. They're not fighting to win territory. They're fighting to erase our capacity to resist. They're succeeding, Vrelix said bitterly. Our fleets can't even hold position. Every time we adapt, they've already moved on to the next countermeasure. Screens surrounding them displayed the chaos. Planetary defense networks hijacked, fleet formations shattered, entire colonies severed from the network and plunged into blackouts. Where the Zarn had once been apex predators, they were now prey, isolated, outthought, hunted. They knew exactly how to fracture us, Malvik said. How to disable our command chains, exploit our honor codes, undermine our unity. A dull rumble shook the chamber. The lights dimmed for a moment. Another orbital station falling, perhaps, or a precision strike somewhere deep beneath the crust. Vrelix moved to the central console and activated the distress matrix. Send a system-wide recall to surviving commanders. Prioritize retreat. We're abandoning the outer rim. You think retreat is still an option? Viker asked, voice raw. They don't want our territory. They want our silence. Our extinction. A sudden chime echoed through the chamber. A new broadcast. Open channel. Human signature. No encryption. Put it through, Malvik said. A holographic projection flickered to life. It was a human, clearly augmented, eyes glowing faintly with data streams. Clad in sleek tactical armor, she stood in a featureless gray chamber. No insignia, no banners. She spoke calmly, in perfect Zarn dialect. To the remaining command of the Zarn Dominion. Your civilization has been assessed. Continued hostility indicates non-compliance with interspecies protocols. This is your final advisory. Surrender is no longer a condition of survival. The pacification phase has begun. The transmission cut off. Malvik sat in stunned silence. Pacification phase. Vrelix's voice was low. It means they were holding back. Viker whispered, we only fought their scouts. A new series of warp signatures lit up on the tactical map. These weren't Vanguard ships. These were capital-class vessels. Massive human fleet groups now dropping into Zarn territory in synchronized waves. Each larger than anything seen before. Hundreds, thousands. Some of them bore signs of planetary siege equipment. Others deployed formations of autonomous drones. Millions of them, coordinated like swarms of living steel. On the screen, one feed caught Vrelix's eye. The Zarn world of Cetril ignited in a moment of pure light, consumed by a tungsten rod dropped from orbit at relativistic speed. The planet's core buckled. The crust ruptured. The humans hadn't landed troops. They hadn't sent diplomats. They had simply removed the planet from the equation. Cetril had no military value, Viker whispered. They're not making war, Malvik said. They're making examples. One by one, more planetary systems fell dark. No explosions, no battles, just silence. Precise, brutal, and absolute. The kind of silence only possible when a species had mastered war to the point of automation. The kind of silence born of indifference, not hatred. In a corner of the room, a secondary console pinged. It was an internal data file. Source, Scout Unit Intercept Log. Content, Human Recon Philosophy. Malvik opened it. A short audio message played. A scout's job is not to defeat the enemy. A scout's job is to show the enemy that defeat is inevitable. Silence followed. Then the chamber lights flickered again and went dark. Far above, in the void between worlds, the main body of the human fleet took formation. The war was already over, and the galaxy would remember. The Zarn Dominion didn't fall in a war. It fell in a test conducted by a scout unit.